All right, welcome back to the JELI Cards podcast, where John and I are spreading the love of the hobby. This is episode 82. You can listen to all our episodes on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, including YouTube now. And if you are enjoying these topics, please give us a rating and a follow on both Spotify and Apple. John, we're just gonna wing it today, man.
Yeah. What else is new?
I have a lot of little stuff to talk about, but I mean, we do have one main topic that we'll get into that I actually thought was really good that you sent us in the group chat. But we're just kind of gonna hop around because I've been reading some articles, and there is a ton of like PSA news out there now in the hobby, and I feel like every single week something new about PSA comes out, especially in regards to their new consignments that they're doing with eBay. And did you see? So now, not only does PSA have the vault, and that they're going to start doing consignments through the vault, but now they switched it so where you can just consign with them directly. You don't have to put them in the vault anymore. Once the grades pop, you can just go ahead and list them. Now, PSA is adding fixed price options to eBay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's another new thing. And the article that I was reading, they are going to try also and I don't know how they're going to do this because they are consignments. I know they're working on a way to do offers and counter offers. Yeah.
Whoa.
Which I don't know how they're going to do that. I feel like you have, I think, what was the number? I think they have the company's, it says the company's eBay page now shows 257,000 sports, non-sports, and TCG cards. Sold since June. Okay. I was like, that's all that's
the active listings.
But they have more than 37,000 cards currently listed for sale, right? So if you started allowing or implementing offers and counter offer options for buy it now listings, I feel like that's like eventually going to be tough.
Yes.
Like it's going to be tough to keep track of.
Exactly. Way too much work.
You have to have an entire team of multiple employees dedicated to this because you're just going to be getting offers left and right. And then you only get X amount of offers before before you can't offer anymore. Offers expire after a certain amount of time. So, I mean, you're going to be going back and forth with potentially, 37,000 other sellers to try to do these. Yeah. I don't know if that's going to work, but I do like the fact that they are adding in that buy now option if you don't want to go with an auction listing. So just give me your thoughts on it. Give me your thoughts on the future of PSA. Do you like everything that they're doing? Do you like that they're implementing more ways to, sell cards with them, basically almost directly with them?
Yeah. So I think that's pretty awesome. Like you said, though, about the offers, that's going to be way too much work. You're going to have to kind of work with eBay in a way and say, hey, if one of our listings get an offer, we need an extended time period because we have to then send that offer to the person who owns the card.
Yeah.
We need to wait for them to counter offer / decide if they want to sell it off for that price. So it's going to, even though it's going to be a lot of work, I don't see why they won't be able to do it. PSA, kind of answering your question here, they're getting super involved in the hobby and they are starting to corner markets essentially.
Yeah.
They're going to completely, I don't want to say that, they are probably going to control almost all of the grading business now that they have this set up with eBay. They're going to be one of the top, if not the top, consignment agency in the world when it comes to sports cards. But I'm curious to know, like, the next steps. I feel like the next steps are going to be kind of going from not only trading cards, but starting to do, like, other things that they authenticate. I don't know what else they do besides, like, autos and memorabilia, things like that. But maybe they'll start listing those on their page too. I think that they, like I said previously, I think it is good for the hobby. I think that it's just going to get more people's eyes on the hobby they're going to be able to say or post something like, hey, we just received like the first 52 mantle that graded above a 7 in like 10 years. And we're listing it straight on our eBay page. And so many people are going to see it and they're going to get a lot of attention. So if you are a person submitting to PSA individually, I think it's a really great opportunity for you to make more money on your card than you could have made if you sold it yourself. So I think it's cool, man. I don't know what it means for the future of grading and selling and consigning and whatever you want to call it when it comes to the hobby, but I appreciate that they're getting super involved in it at least.
Yeah.
But
So
how are you feeling about it?
well, so my thing is, for the future of like grading and selling cards, I think a lot of I don't know like what this means for the future of that, because the first thing that came to my head is, and are people gonna have less cards for you to buy like in person? Like, because if you can just instantly
point.
consign your cards with, again, like we talked about before, if you're operating a business, obviously you're not going to more than likely consign with PSA if you're sending out grading orders. However, though, if you have some big ticket items and you don't want to wait for that card to come back and you just want to sell it right away, and PSA probably would have a bigger platform than what you might have for your business, you might just be like, hey, you know what, go ahead and take your 7% cut and give me the rest. Like, 7% on, so how they do the breakdown on their consignments is $100 to $499 is 14%, $500 to $999 is 13%, $1,000 to $2,500 is 10%, $2,500 basically like 4,999 is 9%, and then anything over $5,000 is 7% that they take for their cut. So realistically, if you're selling close to a 5,000, if not higher valued card, take your 7%, and I'm just gonna sell it right away.
7% of the final sold price? Is that what it says?
It just says sale price and then the fee that yeah.
It's a good deal considering the eBay fees and all that. eBay fees, taxes, and everything, you lose like 16%, 14%.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, why wouldn't you just then list your cards directly with PSA? And honestly, I truly think, like, I wonder if PSA also is going to deal with the same problems that at least like we do, and I'm assuming other sellers do, with the problems of eBay where people don't pay for the items that they win. And I feel like PSA is too large of a company and too popular of a company to put up with it if that's what's going to start happening, especially if they are consignments, especially if people are listing right away because they want these cards sold, and now they have to go back and say, hey, somebody bought it, but they didn't pay. Now we got to relist it, and now you're waiting another 7 days or X amount of time for your auction to end. I truly, truly think PSA is eventually just going to do their own marketplace. I really think that's going to happen. I think that would be smart business for them. Granted, yes, you then are kind of starting to monopolize the industry, monopolize the hobby. However, I think that's on the horizon. Like, I would not be surprised if PSA adds in their own marketplace on their website, and that's where you can sell PSA slabs. And it would be huge because all you're doing is just selling, like, your marketplace only needs to be PSA slabs.
Exactly.
Like, or maybe they would add in SGC because they fall under the same umbrella of ownership, but I think that could be, could you imagine just going on PSA's website and all you're doing is just looking at PSA slabs? Like, you're not getting raw cards or anything like that. It's just strictly, I'm scrolling through and I'm seeing nothing but PSA slabs. Like, I think that would be very beneficial. And I think a lot of people in the hobby would like that.
A lot of people would like that because that's just kind of where the hobby's going. No one really, I feel like we talked about it before, but no one really cares to buy raw cards as much as they used to. It
Yeah.
feels like. And if you are buying raw cards, it's like something that you hit out of a break or a box. Or, again, you find it at a show and you find it in pretty good condition and you want to grade it. That's like the only instance that it feels like the majority of the hobby is interested in just not looking at raw cards at all and picking up as many PSA 10s as possible. When it comes to modern cards, vintage cards, different story. But while you were saying all that, I think that a really great point that you made was the main reason that I'm sure that they're going to kind of shift to creating their own marketplace and their own auction site is the issue that everybody else who sells cards on eBay deals with, that people just don't pay.
Yeah.
And if you are consigning cards and an auction ends at, let's say, $3,000 and the person doesn't pay, and you have to relist it, and a week later the card sells for $2K or less, now you have to deal with not only waiting for that new person to pay, but now you have to deal with a person who can sign their card, and they're like, hey, this card was worth $1,000 a week ago, and now this card was worth $3,000 a week ago. Now you sold it for $2,000. What the hell's going to happen to my $1,000 that I'm missing?
Yeah.
I like, quote unquote, trusted you guys to handle it, make sure it's sold for the best price, and now I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
So I think a bunch of stories like that are going to pile up, and PSA is just going to be like, all right, either eBay, you need to let us enforce an automatic payment rule, or we are going to kind of go the route of PWCC.
Yeah, we're going to walk. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. They're going
And
to
I
do what
really
PWCC did.
And I think somebody like PSA could get eBay to consider something like that. I mean, it surprises me that eBay has never enforced that, has never, implemented. I know now they do it where if you want to make an offer, they make you put your card info down. But they should do it with the same way when you bid on an auction.
Exactly.
Your first bid on an auction, you should have to put your card information down. So then every bid after that, they'll just automatically charge you. Like, that's what you should do. Like, if you are agreeing to, I will buy this card or this item at the amount that I put down. And then you're eliminating shill bidding, you're eliminating any,
Yes.
any type of issues that you're going to have, because that was the biggest reason why PWCC left. eBay accused them of shill bidding, and they went, you know what? Screw you. We're going. And you lost one of your top sellers on eBay when it comes to sports cards.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, if you want to eliminate that, and if you see that that is an issue that you're dealing with, make people have to pay for this stuff. Make them have to pay for it. Like, and that would eliminate all your problems that you're having.
And it's not like you're like putting a random, like on Whatnot, for example, you could just kind of swipe and the auction goes up. But if somebody swipes before you, you kind of get stuck like, oh crap, I didn't mean to do that. On eBay, it lets you put a max bid. You're putting a max bid. You're saying this is the most I'm willing to pay for this card. And if it goes over that, I'm not paying. So I see no reason that they don't do it, especially for at least the like sports card part of the eBay listings. I don't know what other things people buy on eBay, but it should be the same for everything. Like, if you're going to bid on this, and on top of that, this is what I forgot to mention this because I was thinking about everything you said. They have their authenticating agency, which is even better. Like, if I'm agreeing to pay a good amount of money, like over $500 for a sports card, I will like agree to pay for it, and I now have the comfort of knowing that it's going to get authenticated. So it's even more reason to institute a like, hey, if you're going to bid, you have to pay, because you are bidding for what you know you are buying.
Yeah, put a set dollar amount then.
Yeah,
like if you're paying for a card that's, I don't know, $300 or more, you have to put your card. Like, if you're gonna bid on it, like if you're putting a bid of $300 or more, then we need your card info.
All right. Yeah, it's going to get authenticated anyway. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like if they're going through the hassle of like, hey, we're gonna send this card, we're gonna send it to get authenticated to make sure this is the true item, then you should then make these buyers put, hey, if you put a max bid over X amount of money, we need your card info, and then if you win it, we're just automatically gonna charge you. And then it's also it's a faster process now too,
Yes, exactly.
because then your info's already there. You know, hey, put your card info, put whatever shipping info. We're gonna get it all ready. The moment that auction ends, and if you're the one that won it, we're gonna charge you. You paid. They're gonna ship it out. Boom. I mean, literally, just
Yes.
like it can be just that fast.
Yeah. Super easy too.
Look how fast your process went. Now look how efficient your process is. Like these are the things that, like, I mean,
They need to
it just
happen.
seems so easy,
Yeah.
and like it seems, I mean, it's probably not. Like, I could only imagine what it's like to operate eBay.
Hmm.
You know, it's I could and especially now with the way the hobby has gone and the way the hobby's growing, like eBay probably was not prepared for this to happen back in, like, probably 2019, 2020.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but I think if eBay truly wants to keep PSA around, and obviously PSA is going to help out eBay's business tremendously,
Absolutely.
they are going to need to do something different and make sure that sellers have that satisfaction that if my card that I'm consigning with PSA, and then that they're using your website to sell it, if that card sells and somebody wins it, you better make sure this person's buying it.
Exactly.
They need to do that. Or I can see PSA walking and they're going to go, hey, you know what? Our contract is up. We're done. And we're going to go and we're going to, do something on our own. I really think they should do their own marketplace. I mean, they are truly dominating. I can't see how, like, a grading company like Beckett is, like, I don't know. Honestly, man, it's kind of sad, but I don't see how they stay in business for much longer.
Yeah, man, I agree. And it's really sad actually.
Because
So
I don't know how, like, I don't, are you making money? Like, at this point, when you look at the breakdown of the numbers, I just I don't see how Beckett is thriving as a company,
completely agree. Yeah,
which is sad.
it's really sad. People are like, unfortunately, the only way for them to continue to make money is if people start losing their jobs. So like, hey,
Yeah.
we don't need 500 graders anymore. We only need about 400. So
Mm-hmm.
100 of you, unfortunately, have to go. So, but yeah, that's kind of the negative part about all this. It's PSA is kind of taking over grading. I think we both agree that they're going to take over selling too when it comes to graded cards, which is the shift in the hobby that everybody wants. Everybody wants graded cards. They don't really care for raw anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, with that, with PSA gaining so much control in multiple areas of the hobby, other people who wanted to be a part of it are just going to unfortunately go away / lose their relevance. And I don't know. It is what it is. Another thing that like kind of made me think even more when you were talking, I was thinking about like eBay has that buyer protection, which is great. Everybody who buys stuff on eBay, it's nice to know that you have comfort and like you're not going to get screwed over. But now that the sports card market is where it's at, like we've talked about so many times, it'd be nice if sellers got some protection too.
Yeah.
And if PSA isn't going to get eBay to do it, they're going to just be like, okay, listen,
Yeah.
clearly you don't know where this hobby's at. You don't know what it's like to be a seller. You don't know what it's like to like try to basically build a income like on cards. So we got to give some seller protection as well. And we're going to make our own site.
And
Because
I think
yeah,
if that day comes, I think that is going to be a huge blow to any other grading company out there. Like, I think it's going to be a huge blow to SGC. I think it's going to be a huge blow to Beckett or Ace Grading or any other grading company that's out there. I just think if I was Beckett, I'd be praying that PSA does not come up with their own marketplace. Or, I mean, I think the only other grading company that could still be safe is SGC. And I think that's because a lot of hobbyists still like to grade vintage with them.
yes,
And
that's true.
I think when it comes to vintage, SGC is still pretty prestigious in their company to kind of keep that business alive. I really think that, speaking of vintage cards too, when I was on Sports Collectors Daily, they put on an article back in November just about some of the iconic cards in the hobby, and some of these numbers I was kind of like blown away with, like how many cards were like actually printed of them, or at least how many have been graded. So, the 1951 Mickey Mantle Bowman card.
True rookie.
The true rookie card of Mickey Mantle, which is crazy that that's not the most iconic. The 52 is, but the 51 is his actual like rookie. When talking about these grading companies, so in October, I guess 8 more like 1952 Topps Mickey Mantle cards and 16 1951 Bowman Mantle cards were graded. And it said that PSA graded 6, and I believe this is all in October. PSA graded 6 1952 Topps Mantle cards, and then SGC and Beckett each graded 1. I don't know who's sending their 52 Topps Mantle to Beckett, but whatever.
The owner.
And then but get this, so out of these 16 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle cards, SGC graded 10 of them, with PSA only grading 4, and Beckett got 2 of them. So I was actually surprised.
Very interesting.
That SGC graded in the month of October graded more 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle cards than PSA did.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And
what is your thinking?
And there is just, and I'll get to that too. And there's just over 4,000 1951 Bowman Mickey Mantle rookie cards that have been authenticated since the 1990s. I'm like, how many did they print? Like, how many in 1951? How many cards did you make? Because in my opinion, I feel like it was probably easier to like obviously just print these cards. Because I mean, they're just on cardboard. Like it's literally just like regular cardboard.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't know, like I don't know if it was easy to print them out, but and then there's 2,853 copies of the 1952 Mickey Mantle card that have also been authenticated since 1990s. I feel like, I mean, these two are like the two of the most iconic sports cards in existence. And I feel like that's a lot. Like, I feel like that's a lot. Like, I mean, eventually if more and more of these cards are getting graded and more of hobbyists are like chasing after these grail cards, is it ultimately going to lose its prestigiousness? Like, is it going to lose that rarity of like, if more and more people are starting to grade them? Because I don't know like what the number is. Like, I don't know what that number is. Like, have they all been pulled? Are there copies still sitting somewhere? Like, are they all out there like for you to grab? But real quick, going back to the SGC one, it does surprise me that they graded more than PSA. But like I was saying, I think when it comes to true vintage cards, I still think SGC has such a following that that's why I think they will stay relevant in the hobby when it comes to like vintage cards.
Very well said. Okay. So a lot to unravel. I think
Yes.
that
Yeah. Sorry, I jumped around a lot.
no, it's good. I'm trying to think like every time we talk about this stuff now, I try to play devil's advocate. I feel like I've become too much of a PSA spokesperson, but I don't know. Maybe, okay. Reasoning behind choosing SGC over PSA. Cost, I'm assuming. The cost to grade your cards with PSA is getting super expensive, ridiculously expensive, especially with the upcharge nonsense. Other than that, turnaround time. Obviously, the turnaround time for SGC way better, unless you want to pay a lot more money to get it faster from PSA. But the devil's advocate part of me that wants to go with this, like, always grade your cards with PSA thought is I want to know if any of these people tried to grade with PSA. PSA didn't slab it and like
Smart.
labeled it,
Yeah.
trimmed, and decided
Okay.
like, okay, fine, PSA, you want to play games? I'll send it to SGC.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
SGC
that's a
is
good
like,
way to think of it.
yeah, we'll give it a grade. We'll give it either an authentic or a 1 or a 2. So that's what I'm thinking there, because in terms of resale value, assuming that these people are actually grading vintage to resell it, there's another, God, man, this is a long episode. I feel like the resale value for vintage PSA is only slightly better than the resale value for vintage SGC. And that's kind of a shout out to you and your SGC fan club over there. But then again, like, can you say the same for modern? Like, how much longer are people going to be submitting modern cards to SGC or Beckett or CGC or Ace or any other company versus vintage? Like, I feel like the amount of submissions to SGC and other companies for vintage will stay kind of steady, but I feel like the submissions for modern is going to go like in a deep decline as PSA just takes over everything.
The good,
And
go ahead.
once they get rid of the upcharges, PSA is just, there's no reason anyone's going to send a modern card to anywhere besides PSA. In my head, but I could be really wrong, but I want to know what you think about that, because you're right. I think SGC has a great reputation when it comes to vintage, and there are tons of vintage collectors who love the SGC slabs and they trust them and they appreciate the turnaround time and the transparency. So go ahead, Jason. How do you feel about all this?
Well, first and foremost, SGC has the best slab in the hobby. Like the tuxedo is the best slab. I'm sorry, but it is. But I think one, a lot of it is obviously if you're true to SGC and that's who you grade with, they're gonna stick with it. Clearly, I think when it comes down to the numbers, like value numbers, you must not really it must not bother you to grade with SGC, or you're making money and hey, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Because I love the customer service. I love the cheaper price to actually grade cards, and I love the quicker turnaround time. You know what? And if I end up making $50 less on a card on a 10 because I graded it with SGC, if I'm still walking away with money, I'm walking away with money. That might be what people say. However, also, if you notice a lot of these, some of the top, I guess, hobby businesses out there, a lot of them have partnerships with SGC. So that could also be a big thing too, because you're utilizing these other hobby businesses and these, potential like group submitters, like, Nash Cards used to have SGC a part of them. A lot of people are probably still group submitting with these businesses, and that's what they're using. And because they have the partnership with SGC, they're grading with SGC because now I'm true to this business and that business is true to SGC. So my business is going to SGC. My cards are getting graded by them. I think that could be a thing as well. Or if you are just, kind of bulk ordering and, hey, I have this stack of vintage and I have this stack of ultra modern. Well, I want this, I want my vintage to go to SGC. Well, I might as well just send my ultra modern with it as well. Like hobbyists who grade ultra modern, like sports cards, and when I see them in CGC slabs, like that kind of blows my mind because I just don't see the value there.
Right.
I mean, CGC for TCG, absolutely. We're throwing out a lot of acronyms
cool.
Here. We're throwing out a ton of acronyms here. This whole episode is going to be nothing but acronyms. But yeah, if you're grading ultra modern, I realistically you obviously the three PSA, SGC, and BGS, but realistically, I still think there's money to be made in SGC. I mean, there's still money to be made in BGS. If you turn around and get a BGS 10, like you've hit a great card now. Like now and I think that's what's kind of surprising to me, that I guess BGS's numbers are lower than what you would think, is because they have the BGS 10 and they have the Black Label 10. So like, I mean, everybody buys into Absolute Football because they want kabooms. When they know the rest of the set has no money. There's like no real true money to be made in Absolute Football, but you're chasing the kabooms.
Yes.
So it's like, why would you not send all your cards to BGS chasing the black label, right?
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you're buying into a set for one chase card, for one case hit. But why wouldn't you just send your stack of Ultra Modern to Beckett and hope one of them comes back a black label 10?
So listen, man, we're us collectors / investors have selective gambling. We can't gamble all the time. We only get to gamble a little bit.
Buying wax is already a gamble. We're in the ultimate gamble. Anytime you're buying a case for $4,000 and you have no idea what's inside this box.
Could be a boat.
Every single you can have the boat or you can have the mystery box. And the mystery box can have a boat. I'll take the mystery box. The mystery box could be anything.
Keep going, my bad.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So like, it kind of shocks me that when you look at the numbers and you're looking at these grading companies, I told you, I tried to talk you guys into Beckett when I got on my hook of, hey guys,
these black labels.
We could get a black label. And, and Eric, of course, is like, I don't understand how you can have a 10 and then you can have an even better 10. But I'm like, but when you break it down, like, okay, PSA just gives you a 10. But it could mean that your corners were a 10 and say your edges were a 10, but they didn't grade, the surface and the centering 10s or, whatever. I got confused with what I was saying there. But I mean, when you get these, like, BGS just gives you the reasons of why they graded it. Like, they're actually showing you what each graded. So I can actually see that there are differences in 10s. I mean, there is an actual difference in the 10 because you can give a card a 10 because it's averaging out to be now a 10. But a black label, like, is the ultimate perfect card. Everything about this card is perfect. And I can see that being a difference. Like, so I'm surprised that people aren't just like sending stacks and stacks of cards to BGS and hoping that if not the black label, I pray that I get a pristine 10.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because now I'm actually adding more value to my cards than I would if I got a PSA 10.
Right. That's what the reason that Eric gets pissed and I get pissed about that is because,
which I don't know why you get mad. You were the BGS guy when we started JELI.
Yep.
You hated PSA. And I'm putting that on record.
Listen, okay, since we're on the record, I do hate PSA. I hate PSA as like the thing
Eric
that they're doing to the hobby.
Eric was the guy who didn't even want to send any cards that get graded, and now he's like, we can only send them with PSA.
Yeah, because if you're running a cards business and your goal is to make money, you need to also have the same, like, equally important goal of eliminating the gambling. Because what Jason said is true. Everything in the hobby is a gamble. You can hit a card in the break. You can buy a card raw. You can buy a PSA slab. You can do whatever the hell you want. And you're going to try to sell it. And you could either make money or you could lose money. And when it comes to grading, I don't want to send 40 cards to BGS thinking that, hey, I might get one black label 10. Unlike Jason.
But
I'd rather send it to PSA where it's like, look, we at JELI Cards, and I'm sure everybody else in this hobby who's trying to like make money or trying to do something with their cards to make it their business, we do a really thorough job looking over our cards. We try to make sure that we are only sending cards that we think have a potential to 10. We want gems. We want PSA 10s. Bust. Worst case scenario, we get a 9 and we're like, all right, fine. We calculated that too. If it did get a 9, we'd still make our money back. So when it comes to like people like that out there who want to do the same thing and should be doing the same thing, you can't take the risk of like, hey, I could send these to BGS and this card looks like it might get a black label 10. And then BGS decides to give it a like regular 9.5 or even a 9. And you're just like, what the hell? Why did I spend this money? How do I know that if I didn't send it to PSA, it would have gotten a 10? So yeah, man, it's a winded way of me saying grading is way too subjective. It's way too money driven. It's way too like the potentially bad things about the hobby. But in terms of entering the hobby, as somebody who wants to flip cards and wants to kind of make cards their life, which is what we want to do, it's a necessity. It needs to happen. And yeah, I've like lost my thought process now because I'm like all over the place, but you are trying to eliminate the gamble as much as possible. And when I get mad about the different levels of 10, how can you say that about something that's subjective? This person gave it a gold label 10, but if I would have sent it to this other person on the same day, maybe it would have gotten a black label 10, or it would have gotten a 9.5. Like, it's just Beckett and SGC finding a way to quote unquote upcharge / make more money on something that shouldn't be like that. I appreciate PSA being like, no, it's either a 9 or it's a 10. If it's almost a 10, we're going to give it a 10.
Yeah, but the thing that I dislike most about PSA, and what I've told you about this many times before, is the fact that I think they are more like opinionated than SGC and BGS. Like I think sometimes the grades are so drastically different that it's like, I mean, come on, like
What the hell happened?
what happened here? You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, like we talked about many times before, a pack fresh card getting sent to PSA, and that card comes back a PSA 6, or what was the Joe Burrow? What grade did you get on the Burrow?
Oh my God.
The Burrow auto.
I think they
Didn't they
gave
give
it
you an 8 or something?
Yep, 8 on the card and the auto.
And the auto. Pack fresh.
Yeah.
Pack fresh. And they gave you an 8 and an 8. Like, you know what I mean? Or like you know, and then you crack a card with PSA, and then it comes back and then you get a 10 on a different one. Like it just, I mean, I understand we did that with the SGC and we got a 10 on it, but that's my point. I think PSA plays it smart, and I do think they give out more 10s because more 10s equals more business. But I think somebody like SGC is true to the grading. Like, hey, we're going to grade this as accurately as possible. We don't care about, pop numbers. We don't care about how many 10s we're giving out. And it's still, that's why it blows my mind that, like, I don't understand why SGC 10s are not more valuable. Because if it's a harder grade to get, I don't understand why it's not more valuable to then get an SGC 10. Like, but I think PSA is kind of brainwashing you and Eric into thinking the only thing that's going to make you money in this hobby is sending it to PSA. And I think PSA realizes that, and they go, is your laundry done?
Yes. I was like hoping that it wouldn't come up. It was supposed to be done at 9:30. I don't know why.
But yeah, I think that PSA is like kind of brainwashing these hobbyists, and like especially you and Eric, into thinking that the only thing that you can do is send your cards. I'm telling you right now, I would still send them with SGC. I would.
Why would you do that?
Because I think SGC is the most, I guess, transparent grading company. Yeah, they have good morals,
ethics,
and I think and I think that they're true to the grading. I love the look of the slabs. I love the the business, and that's who I would want to give it to. I would love to just send cards to BGS and say, hey, let me help you out here. Like, I don't want you to go away. Let me help you out here.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. But I want to get back to some of these other grails, these grails in the hobby, when we're talking about the 51 Bowman Mantle, because I do feel like a lot of people in the hobby are starting to really chase these grails. And that's why I was kind of talking about why I feel as if is it going to end up hurting the rarity of the card, because so many people now are chasing after them. So many, I mean, I'm starting to see some of these YouTube stars in the hobby, having 52, Roth cards sold. I think he had a 52 tops. I think it was graded a 1.5 or something like that. But he had one. He sold it. But everything nowadays is all based around ultra modern. So to see somebody like him and on his page where it's nothing but immaculate, flawless cards like that, for him to then have a 52 tops mantle, and like that was like, you know, his like big chase, and now he's like, damn, I sold it, and now I need another one. But I feel like that's kind of a lot of people are starting to chase these ones, and obviously going now, talking about like the Star Jordan. So, and this is back still in October because this article was in November. Back in October, PSA graded 31 84 85 star Michael Jordan cards with BGS only slabbing one, and they don't even talk about SGC when it comes to it.
Got 0.
Well, so what I take from that is when it comes to true vintage, or obviously this is not true like vintage, this is kind of more in like the junk wax era of the hobby. I think when it comes to like true vintage, that's where you see SGC shine.
Definitely.
And then when you start to kind of get to that more like 80s, 90s, I think that's kind of where, you know, BGS and PSA definitely start to take over a little bit. And then when you talk about the 86 and 87 Fleer Jordan rookie, PSA graded 170 copies of that card in October, and Beckett graded 33, and SGC graded 30. So, I mean, PSA is still obviously ultimately dominating, but I was shocked when I saw that Beckett graded more than SGC that month.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, and when you're taking a card of that caliber, 86, 87 Fleer Jordan rookie, one of the best cards in the hobby, and people, and 33 of those cards got sent to BGS.
Bunch of Jasons out there like, I'm sorry, Beckett, I don't want you to go out of business.
Yeah, I mean, it just, you know,
But
well, it makes me question. Like, I do still question it because I understand the hobby, and I understand, like, I want to know the reasoning behind why. I can understand why people are sending to SGC. I want to understand the reasoning behind sending 33 of those cards to Beckett.
My optimistic reasoning / defense of these Beckett submitters,
It's true to BGS.
No, is I think that I hope that the 33 people who sent their Jordan rookies to BGS are fellow collectors, and I will give Beckett this, that in terms of safety and like best overall protection for my card, I think Beckett has the best slabs there. I think that the thickness of the Beckett slabs are...
I was about to say they definitely are the most well protected.
Yeah, they're comforting. It's comforting to know that, like, hey, even if I threw this down the street, it's going to survive. It's not going to get the card any damage, versus the SGC and PSA slabs. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh man, if I drop this from the, I don't know, top shelf, it might shatter. So, or it might crack.
I've seen people on PSA slabs crack them just by simply like twisting it.
Yeah. What people? Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I saw it, somebody on a somebody on a social media one, like, I think, or they just bent the sides. I mean, they're like this thin.
Exactly.
There's no protection to that card.
So I'm hoping that's what happened. I want to give the collectors out there some credit and some life, because if they don't really care to resell it, they don't care what, they might not even care what grade it gets. They just want to keep it in their collection for a long time and make sure it's safe. And they're like, yeah, screw PSA, screw SGC.
You know what? I'm gonna cut you off real quick too, because I just thought of this before I forget it. You know, when I buy BGS slabs and I buy SGC slabs, especially when the SGC slab is in the old case, it just makes me feel like I am buying an older card. You get what I'm saying? Like, if I'm buying a card that's, you know, from the 90s or something, I almost prefer it to be in a BGS slab or an old SGC one, because it goes to, I guess, the timing of when it was printed. Like, it has just that old time feel, which is not old, because if it's 90s, I'm calling us old. But I'm just saying it's got that, you know, it's got that older feel to it. Then it's not like I'm buying a vintage card, but it's in the new PSA slab. Like, it just it makes me feel like I am buying a card from back in the day.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's, I just want to.
I hear that. I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think it's, again, that's the collector part of you coming out, because I feel like that's another potential future podcast topic. A lot of people prefer to actually do like a reholder process. They don't like the old PSA slabs. They want them in the new upgraded PSA slabs, the little PSA sticker at the top and all that. So, but I hear that. I agree with that. I like it just makes you feel like you're buying a piece from a time when this wasn't all about the money. It was like some random person didn't care to grade it to resell it. They just wanted to grade it so that they could authenticate it and keep it in their collection. And you're like, hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Or woman. Let's be collectors together.
Yeah. I think a lot of people did, just like back in the day, like they just bought, they bought into sports cards, and they've probably found one of their favorite players from their favorite sports team, and it didn't matter who it was. And like, why am I able to go on eBay and find an Aaron Rowan BGS slab of his like rookie card? Like, that's the beauty of the hobby right there, is that somebody one day decided, I'm going to grade this Aaron Rowan like rookie card, because Aaron Rowan's, I'm a huge, Chicago White Sox fan. I loved the team growing up, and I was a big fan of Aaron Rowan. So I graded the card, and then it probably gets to a point where it's like, hey, I don't really need this anymore, and I'm going to sell it. And then lo and behold, Jason comes walking down the street. Jason's walking down the street on eBay, and he comes across Aaron Rowan, and he buys the card. Like, or for the longest time, me, the longest time when I was, trying to, I wanted to buy a Luis Gonzalez rookie card, and I ended up doing it, or Omar Vizquel rookie card, and I have it now. It's like, that's the beauty of the hobby, that it's just, there's always like, you're not alone in these like rare, these weird finds that you want, to collect. Like, they're going to be out there. And I think back then it was just collecting. Like, I graded this, and I pulled this card, and I wanted to get it graded, and I didn't care if I sell it for $6. Like, I just thought it was cool at the time when I got it. And then,
beautifully said. Completely.
And now I'm the owner of it, and I love the card. It was it was a card one day that somebody loved, and then they got rid of it, and now I get to enjoy it for X amount of years, and then you can put them in my coffin.
Hey man, that's no joke. If I found out that I'm dead and nobody put my cards with me in the grave, I'm coming back.
I'm taking your Jackie Robinson though. I'm just gonna
wait, just this one.
I'm just gonna dig you out. Thanks, John.
As they're lowering the coffin. Wait.
Open this up.
I want to give him something before we lower it in. Jason's old ass limps up to the coffin. But anyway, yeah, man, very well said. That is a really nice thing about the hobby, where it's at currently, because collectors kind of built the hobby, obviously. Collectors all around the country, and what the beauty of it is that, like Jason said, there's people out there who have the same passion, have the same sickness, if you want to call it a sickness, and they're like, yo, I love the White Sox. I love watching them win the World Series. I need a Rowan card, and I'm going to grade it so I can keep it safe and protected. And then years go by, and they're like, hey, kind of don't need this anymore, or need to get rid of it to make some money, or whatever it is. And you get to find people like Jason walking the streets of eBay, and they're like, hey, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right,
man.
Sucker of the year. Thanks for buying my card.
That it's, what happens is when I start like reminiscing, in old baseball, or I start watching an old home run derby, or watch an old all-star game or something, and then next thing you know, a name pops up, and I go, oh, I totally forgot about this player, and then I'm on eBay. Like,
yeah, man.
I'm still one of the ones I need the most, is I want a Tin Lincecum rookie. Like, that's another one that I truly want. I just, at the moment, it's like, I don't have to go out and get it. Like, if I come across one and I think it's a good price, I'll buy it. But I know that's like one of my just like PC cards. I want a Tin Lincecum rookie card. Justin Morneau is, again, another another player. He would Justin Morneau would have been one of the best baseball players, I think, in the history of the game if he didn't have the injuries. He was on the trajectory of being an amazing ball player.
Yeah.
So that's a sad career. Like, that's a career if I wish I could, like, bring somebody back and go, like, redo it. Like,
Yeah.
Justin Morneau would be the guy. Like that.
Nice.
I would have loved to have seen what his numbers. I think he would have been, honestly, he would have been a Hall of Famer. He would have been one of the best ball players.
I would have picked Josh Hamilton, but I feel that sentiment.
Yeah, Josh Hamilton would have been a great one too. Yeah, but I think something about Justin Morneau, and I want a Mags. I need a Mags rookie card too. I want a Maglio Ordonez too, man.
Oh, yo, it's good times. Yeah,
Yeah.
I beautifully said again. Like, everybody, another beautiful thing about the hobby. Every single year, on like a sad reminder of 9/11, every time I see Sosa sprint out to right field with that American flag, I'm like, yo, I got to buy every single Sammy Sosa card in the world.
Yeah.
And there's just like little things that pop up, and you're just like, oh, let me check eBay. I want to look for an eBay rookie card. I want to get a PSA 10 rookie card of Sosa. I want to get a PSA 10 rookie card of Maglio Ordonez. Like, and they're out there, and that's what's awesome. That's
the best part about it.
That's why we love the hobby. That's what the hobby is to us. At least, like, that's the best thing. You have people out there who feel the same way, and like, you get to talk about that kind of stuff together and reminisce and buy up rookie cards of your favorite baseball players. And yeah, man, it's awesome. And I love it. I love that all the crap that goes on in the hobby, sure, whatever, it happens. That's just kind of what comes with the massive influx of people joining the hobby. Yeah. You get good and bad. But the great thing about the hobby is that you get to reminisce, you get to kind of have that like euphoric feeling of going back and remembering when this player did this and this guy did that, and now I have his rookie card and a PSA 10, and I'm so happy. Like, that's the best. And then you get to talk about that kind of stuff with people who share that same feeling and that same joy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing. Like, even if things get even worse and like PSA does corner the market and all this other crap that the doomsday is coming for sports cards, even if all that happens, the best thing is knowing that I can still look at my collection and be happy. I can still look at my collection and remember going to the Edison card shop and buying this Jackie Robinson card and trading it and keeping it. So, yeah, man, I don't even think we're going to hit our second topic because we talked for too long.
I don't think so. I was already looking at the time going like, I don't think we have
we're
to save this one.
But I think it's a great point, everything that you said. And that's, we need to do more of it, not only as like us as JELI cards / our personal selves doing it, but more people in the hobby need to talk about that more often. It's like
more people. We need to get back to our roots. Like, that's like, everybody needs to get back to the roots of why we are in this, why we're running these businesses, because we were collectors at heart. We started off as collectors. That's what the hobby was all about. Get back to your roots. It's not all just about, spending, almost $2,000 on a raw Travis Bazana first Bowman auto. Like, that's ridiculous to me. I mean, what's happening in the hobby is great because it's thriving. And it's what's keeping, us to be able to do this, to do the podcast and like keep, everybody relevant. But when it comes down to it, I would much rather have a BGS 9.5 Aaron Rowan rookie card than to spend $4,000 on a case of Bowman draft to try to chase one player out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it, I don't get that same enjoyment. It's great. It's a rush right then and there. But that card I'm pulling it, and it's gone. And I'd never see it again. But like you said, I can go into my box and I can go into my case of slabs and I can open it up and I can look at the card and instantly a thought, like, just, from my childhood pops in my head. And I go, oh, I remember, I think it was 2007 when Aaron Rowan, made his all-star team. And he had his best season with the Phillies. And, I think he had like 27 home runs. And like, see, and then it just starts going. And then like the thoughts start churning and you're literally like, just like, I remember this and I remember that and I remember this and I remember that.
Yeah, and we haven't
You know?
even talked about Pokemon cards, man. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Every single Pokemon slab
Mhm.
of WOTC/vintage Pokemon is a memory, and Yu-Gi-Oh for me too. So we haven't even touched on that.
Yeah.
And even that's what this is every time we do these podcast episodes, it's like bad for my because like yeah, obviously Jelly Cards is Jelly Cards business. Like I want Jelly Cards to make money. But then we like start talking about things like this, and I'm like, yo, I need to buy more cards. I need to buy this so I can have it in my collection because my collector gut/heart is still like the
Still there.
driving
It's still
force
relevant. Yeah.
of me participating in cards.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, oh man, I need to get on the Luke level, the Jason level, the Eric level. It's like, yo, I should start creating Pokemon sets. I should start buying up every Yu-Gi-Oh! First edition PSA 10 that I can find.
That's the biggest one you should do. You should get into the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Because did I tell you guys that I graded at least 50 of our Yu-Gi-Oh! Hollows? I should probably put together a video one day.
You should and post it. Yes.
Yeah, too much going on. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, man, the point I'm trying to make here is that every sports card has a memory for everybody in the hobby. But for people like us who grew up in the 90s who are so in love and like addicted to Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And other Dragon Ball Z, like anything, man, those cards have an even more special place because that's what started our collector journey. I never bought any sports cards when I was like 7 years old, 10 years old. But getting Pokemon packs and Yu-Gi-Oh! Packs as we like grew up, it was like the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
And now you get to see those cards in PSA 10 or SGC 10, whatever you want to call it. You're like, hell yeah, I remember this card. I want this card, and it's only like $40. I work now. I can spend $40. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, taking me down memory lane, which is good and bad. Good for my heart, bad for my wallet.
That's good. No, that's a good thing. And I think that's a good spot to end on. We can, well, obviously, we'll have to save the topics for.
Yeah, we got to go next. Yeah,
because now, but there was 2 other topics we were supposed to talk about, but yeah, we went down memory lane, and then that was it. And now I'm gonna be,
yep. Here come
on
the group
eBay.
texts. Yeah.
Yep.
Guys, I'm buying this. Guys, we should buy this. Eric, John, you should buy this.
Yep, that's right. All right, John, take it away, man.
Final thoughts. I honestly don't remember what we started the podcast episode talking about because at the end of the episode, we got once again into our feelings/emotions when it comes to the hobby, which is collecting, investing, flipping, selling, trading, whatever you want to call it. It's everybody, each person their own. You can interpret the hobby however you want. So if you enjoyed our ridiculous rants and our crazy thoughts, all that, please follow the podcast, rate the podcast on both Apple and Spotify. We got like 2 weeks left in the year, so I need 35 to 40 more ratings on the podcast so I can hit my 50 goal, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Anyway, I know we talked about PSA, we talked about grading, we talked about eBay, and if you are out there in the hobby and you want to continue that discussion, by all means, please reach out to us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find us on YouTube. I've been super active on Whatnot recently because I'm just addicted to buying Bowman draft cards, unfortunately. So you can even reach us on there, Jelly Cards, JELICARDS. And yeah, thank you, everybody. Like we've talked about so many times, I really would love to see everyone's PC. And I really hope that your PC has like no value. And I mean that in a nice way. I don't mean it like I hope your cards are worthless. I mean it that I don't care what they sell for money-wise. I want to hear the story behind you buying the card and what it means to you, like personally, emotionally. Because that's what the hobby is about, to me, at least. And I'm sure it's the same for Jason and everybody at Jelly Cards. Yes, we run Jelly Cards as a business, but we're collectors at heart, and we have PCs. And even if all of my cards in my collection go to $0, I don't care. That's what we kind of hit on at the end there. It's all about the memories, and it's all about connecting with other people who share that joy. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jason. Hope we all have an awesome weekend and awesome week ahead. And I don't know if we're going to record in time for Christmas. So if you're out there and you celebrate, Merry Christmas. Hope you have a good
Merry
holiday.
Christmas. Yep.
And yeah, thank you. And as always, please keep spreading the love of this hobby from your friends at JELI Cards.